Hello, world, and welcome to our live stream. I'm Nefarious.
And I'm Frequency Girl.
And today we are joined by W.S. Quinton and Alexia Veldhuisen. I can't. Just bring them on.
I told you didn't have to do it.
So I know I didn't get that right. Can you do it for me?
It's Veldhuisen.
Veldhuisen. So Alexia Veldhuisen and W.S. Quinton, also known as Sam, from Sonopa Publishing, here to talk to us all about their comic book 47 Furious Tales crowdfunding over on Kickstarter. Yep. Hello.
How's it going, guys? It's been a while.
I'm doing all right, man. It's the first time we had you on the show. We got 47 Furious Tales 1 and 2. We were hoping to get you on last time, but, you guys were already all booked up and the campaign was nearing its end, but we still got 10 days left on this one. Yeah. So we're hoping we're gonna get to talk to you, maybe boost your numbers a little bit. We'll see what's what. Where are y'all from?
Hold on, I'm gonna interrupt you because you always forget to do it before we get
going. Say hello to the
We're
chat.
say hello to the chat.
I'm such a bad host.
Hey everybody. What's up, Will?
Hey, Will.
Outlet.
Yeah, we got Will. We got
Corey.
What's up, Corey?
How you doing? We have Mo Biggs.
The one and only.
Wouldn't be a chat without Mo.
We got Frog G.
We do have Frog G.
Master Splinter testing our patience, or what is this?
we
were 1 minute late, Mo. Okay, just one. We're doing better.
Sorry, we're getting there. One day we'll start on time again.
We have the Frog.
What's up, man?
Hello, Frog G.
Hey, Collision Mom. Sorry, I missed you. I didn't get to say hi yet.
We've also got Dragon Multimedia. That's
Hello,
Kumari. What's up?
Yeah.
And Rich Ayala, Roach Balls. Check out Roach Balls. Coming soon to a crowdfunder near you. What is up? Crack Pack Day. We've also got, I think that's everybody, right? Yeah, that's everyone for now. So I said hello to the chat. Everyone said hello to the chat. Okay, good. Where are y'all from? Alexia, why don't you go first? Tell us something interesting.
Interestingly enough, I am not from this country. I am from Amsterdam.
Cool.
And I actually just got back from there 3 days ago.
So are you back in the States?
Yeah. Back here in Jersey.
Right. So what's it like? What's the culture shock like? Is it very different in Amsterdam and New Jersey?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The infrastructure, for starters, is just a difference of night and day. You don't need You don't need a car to get around much because it's a metropole, but it's a very small metropole. So to give you context of how the Dutch experience
Amsterdam, dude,
that's brilliant,
next
man.
Level. That's good.
So to give you an example on how the Dutch experience distance, to them, an hour train ride, let's just say if you want to go from Amsterdam to Utrecht, which is something I had to do when I was there, it was an hour train ride with, I think, 2 transfers. To them, that's like an odyssey. But over here, it's like, it's just an hour. A big deal.
Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. And in New Jersey, you can't make left-hand turns. You can't make left-hand turns. Do they have any sort of prejudicial treatment of the left-handed in Amsterdam?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Because
in New Jersey, they're just no can do. Left-hand stuff,
over there
no
comes
way.
from every direction. So there's it's
so
just
they don't discriminate in directions at all.
You just literally have to look in all directions before you cross the street.
Life comes at you fast.
Pretty much.
Sam, what about you?
I'm from the United States, originally from Mississippi, but I've lived and worked in actually all of the lower 48.
All of them?
Wow.
All of them. The only states I haven't lived.
Why can't you pick one?
I traveled a lot as a kid, and then in the 90s when I was, in my 20s, I'm the old man here. I literally went all over the country for different jobs. So. Actually, I had one particular company I worked for a lot, had a personal protection job I was supposed to go to in Seattle, flew to Seattle from Cincinnati, sat in the hotel room for 3 days while they were waiting for this to kick off. And they said, hey, this is not going, so we're going to send you to another job in New York. So I'm like, okay. So flew to New York by way of O'Hare in Chicago, got to New York. They put me in a hotel room for 4 days. And like, okay, this looks like this isn't going to go off, but the thing in Seattle kicked back off. We're sending you back to Seattle. So they flew me to Seattle. I spent that weekend in the same room I'd been in when I was there before, just staring out at the mountains. Was told not to leave the room because I could be called up at any second. They actually paid me on those every hour I was stuck in the hotel because I was on call. And then when that didn't kick off,
fun. Be like, yep, there's another $2,000.
And when it didn't kick off by Monday, they're like, "Hey, we got a gig in Atlanta. You want to go to Atlanta?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, we gotta be on the plane in 90 minutes. Of course, this was back before 9/11, so getting on the plane was a lot easier. Flew Atlanta, and then ended up in Atlanta for a week, and then that got taken care of. So it was, I literally went back and forth across the entire country. Twice.
But not to Hawaii or Alaska, apparently.
Never made it to Hawaii or Alaska.
Oh, okay. No personal protection gigs out there. Will says, "Hi, Alexia, Sam, Freq Girl, kick me."
Yeah.
Kick me. All right. So it's already starting. Yeah. You go right ahead, Rich. I was just drinking mine. Coffee is important at 7 p.m.
Hey,
we got Noah in the chat. What's up, NTM? So how did you fall in love with comic books, Sam?
Ooh, I can't remember a time I didn't have a comic. When I was little in Mississippi, I would spend a lot of time at the family business, depending on which business we were at during the day. During the day, it was usually my grandfather's service station, and in the evening, it was at the bar that my dad and my mom owned. And my parents and my grandparents and everything, they would just stick comics in my hands. And so I literally don't remember a time I didn't have comics.
Fair enough. All right. So it was just like from an early age, ever-present comic books. What about you, Alexia? Yeah. Do you remember the first book that took your breath away?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I remember it like it was yesterday, back in the days. No, just kidding. I'm not that old yet. I remember seeing J. Scott Campbell's Danger Girl issue 1 on the
set. Danger Girl. I have that upstairs.
That's what
Sam's headset is bigger than Neff's brain. How do you know, Noah? You can't see what's between my ears. Come on. Yeah, Danger Girl was a lot of fun. I have issues.
That was my gateway drug.
Yep. Yeah, really.
Yes.
Did you?
J. Scott Campbell's a good.
He's good. He's an enjoyable artist. He's an acquired taste, but I enjoy it. Was that what prompted you to want to be like this? I got to learn to do this with my life. I want to go to the Kubert School. I'm going to go to SVA in New York. I'm just going to be a comic book artist. Is that what kind of motivated that, Danger Girl?
I mean, that was the initial spark. I was a tender 9 years old at the time. So I don't know if you ever noticed, but whenever folks get into things at the age of 9, 10, and 11, those are the obsessions that stick with you with the rest of your life. So it just happened to be comics for me. I mean, I was already playing video games too at the time, but those things were just like, that kind of like melted into my soul and I never let it go. Fast forward to when I was 15 and I started working at a local comic shop in Amsterdam that was importing comics from the US through Diamond. And that's how I basically got introduced to the entire industry as a whole. And through that job, that seed of becoming a professional comic book artist was planted until the point where I was in junior year of high school and I found an ad for the Joe Kubert School in one of the comics I was reading. And then it was just like 1 and 1 is 3 in my mind. It seemed very logical. It's like, if I want to be an American comic book artist, and I'm saying specifically American because obviously Europe has a very rich comic book industry. That never really appealed to me as much as the American stuff. So in my mind, I was like, I want to be an American comic book artist. I should go to America. And oh, hey, look, here's a school in America. Let me go there. Obviously, it was not as simple as that, but I did manage to do it. So here we are.
True. I mean, and it's worked out so far. What are some of y'all favorites comic book characters? Yeah, you know what, Noah, you're right. That
I was gonna say, I'm like, I was just gonna say that he was being harsh, but I don't know, that sentence kind of just validated the fact that one of the reasons he can't.
So yeah, we got Danger Girl on the table from Alexia. Alexia, are there any other comic book characters that are close to your heart? Sam, you get a moment to think of your own.
I mean, there's so many great books out there. Day Tripper by Gabrielle Ba and Fabio Moon are also a very significant book for me. Let me take a look at my bookcase here. Black Sad is one that
all right.
That actually inspired
live up there.
47 Curious Tales.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much out there. Low by Rick Remender and Greg Ticini. Black Science by Rick Remender and Matteo Scalera. Anything that Rick Remender's been writing, obviously, in the past 10 years has just been on my shelves. Yeah, Steampunk by Chris Picciolo.
Nice.
Do you like? Have you read Lady Mechanica yet?
I've read all the previous ones. I know that he put a Kickstarter out, but I have all of the previous story arcs when he was just doing it on his own.
Yeah, I have those. Lady Mechanica is my favorite. Lady Mechanica and Monstrous are my two.
And you would dig
favorites.
Monstrous too, because like the anthropomorphic characters. Yeah, this is like she's got really good taste. I'm digging it. What about you, Sam? What horrible taste do you have so that you and I can sort of commiserate, be like, I like Shatterstar,
Well, one of my favorite comics of all time was Aria by J. Anacleto. Rom Space Knight back when it ran during the 80s. In the 70s, my absolute favorite was Superman at the time. And then
you like 80s Superman?
No, the 70s. 70s Superman.
70s. So this was this pre or post Kryptonite? I can't remember.
Was that what?
Because originally he didn't have Kryptonite as a weakness. They added that in because
Kryptonite was already a weakness in the 70s.
So in the 70s, so it was 60s Superman that didn't have Kryptonite.
I think it would be the early 60s if I remember. Because here's a good test for it. If you look at the old Super Friends cartoon from the 70s, he had a Kryptonite weakness already. Okay. So that's very, very telling because it takes a while to migrate stuff like that to any type of animation. But lately, as far as probably the last 4 years, basically the comics I've been reading have been crowdfunded titles. So things like Cornrows, which I'm hoping for the second issue from Brian Hawkins. Boston Metaphysical Society, honestly one of the top books. I'd put that against anything.
Shout out to Madeline.
Yeah, Madeline does a fantastic job. Miskatonic High with Mike Shea, absolutely fantastic work. I'm really enjoying Mary Machine Gun by Max DeVille.
We just got that one too. We just got the new Mary Machine Gun.
Shout out to Max.
I had some preconceptions about Niobe, and then I actually read it, and I found that it was not at all what I thought it was, and really dug the whole female empowerment angle in that. So that was really kind of cool.
I have the entire collection in a box right there.
We actually, really cool. Yesterday we posted an update. Max and Larry both donated a digital file that we got to hand out to all of our backers. So they all got a complete free copy. One got, they got Mary Machine Gun Reloaded, which is with the corrected lettering, and then the very first edition of Niobe. So it was pretty cool little digital gift season yesterday.
That is very cool.
So, and that's still up there. So every backer who comes in through the end of the campaign will be able to download those as well. Nice. Really, really sharp titles. I'm looking forward to this really hot little mecha comic that I pledged to a little while ago.
Yeah, I hear there's some giant robots out there that are worth keeping an eye on.
Because I'm a big mech fan.
Good.
It leans a little, Japanese-esque. Macross was and Robotech and all that associated. Gordian Nato titles were a big bit of fun for me.
We got a Matt Barr up in the chat. What is up, Matt? Thanks for stopping by and hanging out. Good to see you. Talking about, Japanese inspired stuff. We got Rock and Roll Ninja graphic novel. Matt's got that out right now over on Indiegogo. Cool. So I'm going to ask you guys what you draw upon for inspiration. You were saying, manga, movies, television, anything like that. I mean, games. Also, you said you were playing games, Alexia. When you were coming up with 47 Furious Tales, what were you drawing upon to, I guess, Sam, for you to kind of make the story, and Alexia, for you to draw the art?
Well, I guess mine's the shorter version, so we'll start with that. As far as the storytelling aspects, I had to do some research on how to actually write a script for a comic. And so that took a little bit, but then I took and decided I wanted to do storytelling along the lines of what Akira Kurosawa did with his samurai films.
So wait, I have a quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt. You said this is your first comic book script?
Yeah, this is the first one that's been published. Yeah.
So my dude comes out in, a slight obscurity, decides that he wants to write a comic book script, and the first person you go after is Kurosawa? All
yes.
right. Respect. You decide I want to write something, I might as well go after, in the style of Kurosawa. I
go big or go home, right?
Exactly. I'm all about it.
So I tried to mimic that a little bit, and I had a lot of help because I have a really great editor for this title, someone who's professionally trained.
Yep.
Who does the editing. But the thing about that, you end up with a lot of silent panels, which is great because it saves you time on lettering a little bit, and really lets the sequential art tell the story. And the funny part about issue 1 is we had a lot of people that just really didn't even notice that there were a couple of pages that were completely silent. They're like, oh wow, and they go through and they read through, and then they stop and like, wait, there's nothing here. I just read through something.
It doesn't need to be. You're using visual storytelling. Yeah.
And so it's just like in those Akira Kurosawa movies where you have those moments where everything gets really quiet.
And diegetic sound, no real music underneath.
Exactly.
Some of them had music, but a lot of it was just like wind blowing, and
exactly.
It really created that ambiance. They would call that like aspect to aspect transitioning in comic book language, where you're really just kind of you've got no dialogue.
Like Scott McCloud theory, right?
Yeah, it is. I'm self-taught in comic books, and my tutor was Scott McCloud.
The Bible's
it's legit. It's a legit resource.
I mean, I'm still learning as I go too, but we've been putting together a lot of scripts, getting a lot of work done. And the thing about comics and plotting this out was getting all the outline stuff done. And so breaking it up into more like literary chapters than it was focusing on individual page count elements, so that we could tell this section of the story here, this section of the story here. And so we've actually had our shortest book was issue 2. And then most of the rest of them come in around 24 to 28 pages. Issue 2 came in at 20 because there was a real short point in the story that we were covering on that. But had the whole thing lined out for 12 issues. Took it, instead of telling like the usual Hollywood kind of story where it's like, oh, this happened and then they got mad and then they killed the dude. We went back, hey Scott, what's up, man? And took and went and actually built on what was happening prior to the incident, some of the background history of what.
And he said this was going to be a short answer.
Yeah, and look at the history.
Aspect to aspect, Bo. Come on. Yeah, they did. Noah did do a good one earlier, but it's not because I don't like reading, Bo. It's Noah. I'm not here today. It's because I don't need to write things in those panels. Like you said, Sam, you just kind of get off easy. You'd be like, yeah, make a panel of this and panel of this, and I don't have to write anything for that.
Yeah, better no dialogue than bad dialogue.
Right? Better good art than no art. So I was surprised that you guys weren't like Rescue Rangers and Secret of Nim and other anthropomorphic stuff. You did say Black Sad, Alexia. Yeah. And I dig that because that's one of those books where they use anthropomorphic characters just to make it kind of fun. It's not all about the anthropology. It's just another part of or anthropomorphic. I don't know. It's just another fun part of the story. Black Sad's a very, noir crime drama thriller comic, and he does an amazing job with it, and just happens to be a humanoid panther, So what appealed to you about, when you got the call from Scott? First off, I should ask, how did you put this team together? What?
What after you today? Better no dialogue.
Like the bad dialogue.
Sounds like he read your script.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I had a very interesting morning. So how did this creative synthesis come about? Alexia, did you get an email or phone call? Sam, did you flash the bat signal? I don't know. How did it happen?
The way it came about is that we have a mutual friend, Brian Lee. I went to school with him. He was 2 years below me. And he was also good friends with another friend of mine at the time. And I had just got basically canned from this studio, this fine art studio assistant job in New York City. And I was commuting from New Jersey to Brooklyn every day, and that was not something I would like to experience again. Anyway, the point is that it didn't work out, and they let me go. So I was between work at the time, and then our mutual friend Brian Lee reached out to me after.
Yeah, he did letters, right? He's doing the letters.
He does the lettering on issue 2 and so forth. But anyway, he asked me, he's like, hey, I have this friend, and he's doing these RPG things, and he needs fantasy illustration. And I was just like, what the hell? I've got nothing else going for me. And I asked Brian, as a fellow Kubert student, it's like, do you vouch for this guy? Is he like good people? And he's like, oh yeah, I vouch for him. I'm like, okay, cool. Because, it's a bit of an unwritten rule that you're not going to recommend a client to a fellow artist if you know that client is not a great person to work with, and vice versa. If it is somebody that's great to work with, you would recommend them to your fellow artist friends. So on that vouch, I reached out to Sam in an extremely formal email. Dear Mr. Sam Quinton. I'm joking about it now because we talk. We're actually good friends now, so we're always just messing about. But anyway, so I sent him a very formal email, and that's kind of how communication started.
And the rest of the team just kind of became what it is. Because you got more than the two of you on this book, right? You've got cover artists. Mm-hmm. You do the interior art and the colors, Alexia, but there's other stuff that goes into it, right? Yeah, and the main cover. But you guys had variants. I remember because I got those. And, and Brian's the letterer. How did, I guess, the team become a cohesive team? And what's it like to work with everybody when they're all over the country?
Well, working with Paul Walcott is a breath of fresh air. It is so remarkable to work with such a gifted professional.
Wow. He's not just putting the knife in; he's twisting it too. Damn.
No, but working with Alexia is absolutely remarkable. And so Paul came in under Alexia's recommendation, and so
Paul's a good friend of mine. Actually, we went to school together, so.
And I weigh that. I do. I weigh that, and then I see Paul's art, and I'm like, oh yeah, we got to get this guy on for variant cover. In fact, I'm actually hoping to put my first manga style work out with Paul next year.
Is that the one coming in 2022?
Hopefully, yeah. Cool. Funding will out. We've got a couple of.
That's that Noah joke is a reference to me rubbing my artist's thigh under the table.
It's an ongoing joke about the channel. So
don't actually rub his thigh.
So Garrett used to
stream
prior to launching the campaign, but he's been feverishly working away, and it's just
I would love to show you guys pages.
Yeah, it's just all spoilery stuff, and he switched to
by 24 inch pages,
so he's not working digitally.
Yeah, we're a 9x12 oversized book, so he decided to just go crazy high with the aspect ratio, so he can, and color it. So yeah, Sam, you're no stranger to crowdfunding. You've got 15 campaigns under your belt. You've been doing a bunch of 5th ed supplements. You did a necromancy supplement. You did weapons. You did a couple of modules. Alexia, did you work with him on those?
I did. That's how we initially started working together. He hired me to do, I think, one illustration, right, for the Sonopa omnibus. No. It was for the adventure module for the Terror Adventure games.
Yep, for the first
book 2.
Adventure.
I did
book 2, yeah, right.
4 illustrations for that,
which
was my first foray into fantasy illustration. I was just a noob when it came to fantasy illustration. Never played D&D. I never played any RPGs of any kind. So it was all very new to me and exciting. And I quickly discovered that I actually genuinely really like to draw high fantasy stuff because there's a high level in there's a high level in detail in it. And I tend to get lost in that. That's absolutely non-conducive to productivity when it comes to actual comics. Like if it's just a single illustration, it's cool. But if it's a comic book, forget it. You don't want to keep drawing those pouches over and over again. So I started working with him on that, and then I ended up contributing to the omnibuses as well. And we're going to be putting out a series of 6 illustrations of goblins and hobgoblins for the Sonopa Omnibus Volume 3.
Right.
So that's
hoping
how
to
it
get that
started.
out next month. Yeah. Hoping to get that out next month.
So adding on to that, when did you start Sonopa Publishing?
May 2017.
Wow, it's just got
with the first campaign in June 2017, which was for Tale of the Wizard's Eye, and we squeaked by and got our goal and put our book out, and then came back a little while later with Tarot Adventures Book 1 and just started rolling. I mean, I've had 14 successful campaigns. This is hopefully going to be the 15th. We've had a couple of campaigns that have failed along the way. Our first attempt to fund 47 Furious Tales issue 1 failed because we jumped the gun. We really weren't ready to launch yet.
Yeah, but then you came back and you got like $6,900.
Right,
for
exactly.
number 1.
Right. And then with issue 2, we launched right as the pandemic hit into the United States.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, why you thought number 2 didn't measure up to number 1, and that was, pandemic's a very good reason.
I think we had in part the pandemic to blame on that. We did still have a pretty big goal.
Yeah.
It was 15, I think, right?
12,
I think it was 12,000 for that. The thing is that for the crowdfunding on that, it's always almost entirely art costs, because I can't draw anything. It's art costs, and then probably at least some of the printing, but definitely the shipping costs, and then everything else I usually come out of pocket. Like, I'm sorry about the mess behind me, but this is actually all merchandise. So we got,
you guys, it looks nicer than my office.
Issue 2.
You can't see the floor
me
in our office. That's issue 2 behind you?
Yeah, this was actually 2 more boxes deep and 2
Bro,
more
are you
boxes
kidding
high.
me? Come on. These books are tiny. Why are they like so many in like
I printed
boxes?
4,500 copies. 1,500
That could be why. Yeah.
And so that's how we were able to get the economy of scale to let's put these books out at like $5 a piece, so
that's awesome.
It's you have to work hard on the back end when you're selling at cons and at shops and stuff.
Yeah.
But it makes it a lot easier for people to get a hold of your book. Actually, issue 1 for 47 has now sold 1,285 copies in print.
Congratulations, that's awesome.
And that's between the Kickstarter campaigns, the con appearances, and the 23 stores that are carrying it.
So that's including
the
Yeah, we're at 23.
That's awesome.
That's including the catch-up tier on the, well, not really catch-up tier, but you did a 1 and 2 together. And I think you did that over on Indiegogo, which is where I found you, and I backed you there. So in the first campaign, and then the 1 and 2 together, and then on the tail end of that in cons and in stores, you've sold 1,200 copies. That's
issue
amazing. Issue 1.
Awesome.
That's fantastic.
Congratulations. And I'm being 23 stores. That's really cool too.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, we need to get to more. Heroinberg is in like 190 or something right now. I really need to catch up.
Heroinberg has a TV show. Relax.
I'm just saying.
He's got an album out. Relax.
I'm just saying. I gotta step up my game a little bit.
Right. Well, I mean, maybe if you put together a Shogun samurai soundtrack to go with your book and got models to dress up for you, then
we could do that. Yeah. I have a friend who's a musician. He's an amazing musician.
Throw that up on what's that newfangled music app that they're listening to these days? Spotify, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah. Put a QR code in there for Spotify link so that you can listen to period music or like a remix while you're reading your Furious Tales. That'd be kind of cool. Talk to Brian Bedvitas. He did that with Aerith Tape 2 or Aerith Tape 1. So right now, we've got issue number 3 in crowdfunding. I'm just going to jump down my questions a little bit because I don't want to run out of time. That's a 24-page book, right?
28.
Correct.
28 page.
24. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 24.
Oh, okay.
Definitely 24, Sam. Don't freak me out.
And it's
extra 4 pages, by the way.
Like, wait a minute.
And it's crowdfunding at $20 for the base book, right?
Right. Most of that's including the shipping, and so that's
right.
That's where that kind of rolls in. Is the shipping is always weighting heavily on one. But if you come down to like the catch-up tier, you see where the difference comes in, because, like I said, well, most of that's actually the shipping costs. Because your catch-up tier is only $25 for the first 3 issues in print.
Oh, so there is no shipping cost on the book when you go to checkout?
Right. This is all includes shipping in the United States.
Cool. All right.
And
So it's like $10 shipping. Yeah.
Yeah, because we use primarily priority. Because I cannot get away with shipping media mail here. My postmaster is convicted that it's not permitted. So.
Oh no. Really? That's weird. I'm just gonna switch this this way.
And when you sell these in person, you sell them obviously for less at the conventions. So like the price disparity between the crowdfunder and, in-person sales is because obviously of the shipping, but also is it because
like they're actually the same price.
These and yeah, they're the same price. Exactly.
Right. They're $5 here and they're $5 in cons.
Yeah. And these are all signed,
issues, the Veldhuisen covers are all signed. Yeah. We can't get Paul here to actually have him sign his copies, unfortunately, but he's we're hoping to see him at several of our appearances, hoping to get him table space with us, for example, the Garden State Comic Festival, things like that, so that people can get their stuff signed.
Well, you've been everywhere in all of the different states, and you've worked private security. I'm pretty sure you could get Paul if you really wanted him, right? I mean,
yeah, but now an
unmarked van.
Now I work for the courts, and they frown on that kind of thing.
You could have him served. You could have him served and make him show up in the city. Come on, man. I got these ideas. Let me help you out.
Mo wants to know, does that free shipping include Alaska and Hawaii, or are you still holding a grudge?
Yes, it does include Alaska, Hawaii, also the territories, Guam, and Puerto Rico.
Oh, nice. Hey, so, Tim's talk.
Hey, Tim, what's up, man? Yeah, so Americans, that's what you're pledging. If you're in another country, it depends the international shipping, which is even more horrendous. It's like $25 to get to Canada right now.
Yeah, it's
awful. They're not even going to Australia, so
or New Zealand for that matter.
Yeah.
It's all frozen.
We're hoping by the time ours ships, they're back.
And maybe it'll like.
Oh no, I don't care if it's still expensive. I just want.
No. I mean, like be back.
Oh, it's never going back to normal. It's not happening. No.
I was gonna say back open. You keep jumping.
So why samurais and anthropomorphic rodents? Why not samurais and I don't know reptiles? You know what I'm saying here?
Because that's already been done. Kind of.
Well, I mean, you could have done iguanas. You could have gone amphibians. I'm sure Frog G would have appreciated a samurai frog.
Actually, Neff, that already exists. There's a comic book title out there that is a samurai reptiles, and I think the protagonist is indeed a frog or something like that.
But you see, I don't know about it, so you could have made it and then made money because I would have bought it. So rodents, because they have tails, and it's the 47 Ronin.
Go ahead, tell the story, Sam. It's great.
So the genesis of 47 series, I'll tell you.
So Noah's making a joke at the fact that his comic is also called Mavericks, except it's spelled with an X,
which is wrong.
Noah. It's not how you spell that. And I know we don't have the right letters in ours, but at least we use the right ones. So please tell the story. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had I was putting scripts together for different projects I wanted to look at with getting into comics. To expand what we do, and happened to be flipping around the internet and saw a little GIF of two squirrels fighting with lightsabers. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then the very next image I saw was a little squirrel in full samurai armor. And just something in my mind, farted and said, hey, we could tell the story of the 47 Ronin using anthropomorphic squirrels. So it's kind of like the same ambiance you get with TMNT and Usagi Yojimbo, and we could tell like the whole story and not just like the super condensed, really short form of it. And it would be cool. It'd be fun. I wonder if we can get an artist to do that. And so it was one of the ones I pitched in
what crazy artist would agree to draw squirrels and samurai outfits?
The one who's been making the money doing it, I guess.
Some weirdo from a strange country would agree to that.
Yeah, Amsterdam. And Alexia, how excited were you when you started work on 47 Furious Tales? Because the two of you got together to do role-playing game stuff, right? And Sam comes to you and goes, "Load Frog and Tadpole." That's great. I have adaptation from First Comics sitting right over there. I would definitely watch the hell out of Lone Frog and Tab.
Neff, to answer your question, yes, Cold Blood Samurai. That's the one I was going to say. It's from Action Labs. It came out in 2019, and I have issue 1 of that because I think I was just doing market research. So yeah, check it out if you want frog samurais.
Jack Forbes.
What made me want to draw samurai squirrels? The fact that it's samurai. I love samurai. I love that genre. I'm a huge fan of Vagabond and Samurai Champloo and all the other famous animes that I can't think of the title of right now.
We don't want to anger the chat, so we'll leave the weeb stuff out of it.
So no, I'm a huge fan of samurai stuff. So when he pitched the idea in our work group, I just immediately jumped on it. I was like, I called dibs. This is mine.
Nice.
And then it became a matter of trying to figure out how to draw these damn critters because I'd never really drawn many animals, let alone rodents. So that was an experience, but I figured it out.
Now, your style is also what I would refer to as painterly. When Garrett first started out doing his illustrations for comics, it was a very painterly style. Who did you draw off of? What aesthetic were you drawing off of to kind of cultivate your own?
Well, some folks might.
Do you want to show some art? Yeah, let's do that. Hey, you.
Do
work.
Some folks might know that I'm actually very heavily influenced by Yoji Shinkawa, who is the concept artist for the Metal Gear Solid series. That was another one of those cornerstone influences. When I was about 9 years old, I saw that and I was like, I want to be able to draw like that. So flash forward to always having that kind of in my wheelhouse, and then looking at guys like Matteo Scalera, for example, and Sean Murphy. They were doing a lot of ink wash, and Francis Manipul was also doing a lot of ink wash. So it just made sense in my muddled brain that I was going to go for a very Japanese woodblock print aesthetic, and I would get the opportunity and the creative space to really dig into that style because it's something that I've always been wanting to do.
That's what I thought you were going to say, the woodblock style aesthetic, because it also feels very authentic for the period.
Exactly.
I appreciate the way that you kind of married the art to the subject, even though it's squirrels. So I just think, it's the style suits the story, and I was interested in the way that you kind of came to that. It's really neat that you have such a painterly style. I haven't seen any of your other work. Do you work in, I guess, like a different aesthetic when you do the game stuff? Because I've only been able to see the cover on the role-playing game page.
Oh, we got lots of stuff by Alexia Veldhuisen.
Yes. Look at that, man.
So that's
fantastic.
That's actually a callback to J. Scott Campbell's Black Cat cover.
Yeah,
that he did a couple of, I think, last year. That's one of my other pieces.
That's definitely a lot more like what I see in 47 Furious Tales, with the way that you lit the edging, the edges.
I'm all about
you picked up the edge highlighting.
I love dramatic lighting.
Yeah, that's
very
good.
Cool.
I really like the J. Scott Campbell swipe. That one's really nice.
Thank you.
We've got a lot of work by Alexia Veldhuisen around here.
Yeah, I tend to use digital painting, which is, again, working with Sam, it gave me the creative space to explore that a little bit more, too, because I've been wanting to get better at that. So the only way to get better at something is to just take a job in it and just force yourself to get better.
Hopefully, yeah. There are plenty of things that people try and they just don't get better.
Here's what she did for an RPG piece for the
make him big. Him big in him. There you go. Oh yeah, that looks nice. Is that an orc or a hobgoblin?
That is a hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin.
Nice.
We got a hobgoblin in the house. We've also got a 24 eyes in the house.
24 eyes.
No,
What is up, man?
She's done a whole lot of goblinoids for me the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's going to be in the Sonopa Omnibus Volume 3.
3, yeah.
Right, coming out next year. That's exciting that you guys have
hopefully
next month.
Oh, cool.
Even before 2022.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, hopefully.
You guys really just ramping up production.
Yeah.
So for people that may not know, what is the setting of 47 Furious Tales like? And I know that you're going with the whole 47 Ronin, but there are people out there who probably don't know either. Why don't you kind of take us through the setting, the characters, the conflict?
Take it away, Sam.
All right. So we are looking at the early days of 18th century Japan. Instead of people, we have people being represented by different types of animals. So with the samurai of Asano Naganori, we have squirrels, we have foxes, a few hamsters, things like that. With our bandits that are really heavily involved in this issue, we have these monkeys who are standing in for our bandits. And then for our main antagonist, Kira, who is the corrupt shogunate official who kind of really instigated this whole incident in Japanese history, we have him depicted as a rat. You're going to see different characters utilizing these different animals just to kind of add a easy way to differentiate them and also kind of reflect a little bit of the personality we're trying to convey.
Can I add a little anecdote to that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Initially, when Sam first pitched the idea to me, he was like, "Everybody's a squirrel." And
that was a bad idea.
That's a terrible idea.
Because how do you tell them apart?
Exactly. It's the superhero costume thing all over again. Just full body.
Just like that. No, that's not gonna work. So that's when we took another look at it, and we're like, okay, so what if we make this guy a fox, and we're gonna make him a hamster?
Mm-hmm.
And hey, look there, the Hamsterdam is coming back. And I was like thinking of the Great Mouse Detective when I came up with the idea of making the antagonist into a rat. I thought that was very fitting.
Yeah, that made a lot of sense.
So anyway, please continue.
And really, the setting is just that late Edo period Japan, where there's this period of transition going on, where there's a lot of external forces that are causing problems internally in Japan. We don't really touch on that very much, but the net effect is some of the practices that are in place during the period. These periods of duty where the daimyo and his retainers are required to go to Edo and commit to some period of service every 2 years. And that was a technique that the shogunate put into place to help drain the coffers of these feudal style lords so that they wouldn't be able to afford to war with each other. And it was very effective. It enriched Edo quite a lot because there would be a constant supply of money coming in from all over the country as these people were forced to spend a great deal to support themselves and their retainers. And plus, while they were away, this tended to cause some problems that they would have to solve when they got back. So you would see banditry would tend to swing up when half of the local samurai are gone, because of course they are, because the samurai basically in a lot of the more rural areas basically stood in for what was effectively the policing force.
I mean,
yeah, they can't
enforce.
Yeah.
And so obviously if you're a bandit and you're looking to steal something, you don't go someplace that's at full strength. You rob the easy targets, because if crime's going to pay, it needs to be easy, And so we do bring that element in to showcase a lot about what the duty of the samurai is. And so we're not really at all afraid of bloodletting in this series. You see...
Yeah, there's plenty of decapitations and stuff.
Yeah, decapitations, dismemberments, different
which
sword
are
play.
very easy, very funny things to think about when you have to draw them. I'm like, all right, so how does a head roll? Like, how does it look when somebody's hand gets cut off? But definitely, my question was like, how do I make a head roll on the floor? How does it lie on the floor when it's detached from a body? Sort of things.
Not a lot of reference
Especially when
images
it's
of
an
that.
animal body too.
Yeah, not a lot of reference images for that either. So it's kind of...
No, I just kind of have to think of physics and such, and it's kind of difficult.
Yeah, Jack's got it in one. Yeah, when the
Hey,
scrolls play, the
Jack.
bandits will play.
That's my friend Jack.
And the bandits are the
thanks for joining
monkeys,
us.
right?
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Guys right here. Badass, man.
Ironically, we call them the Grey Wolf Bandits, but I just thought that monkeys were.
But they're monkeys.
But they're monkeys. Listen, it just makes sense.
I was actually going to say, building off of that, you drew monkeys. They're in the cave setting. You make them look very ferocious. Would you ever consider doing work with anthropomorphic animals that are a little more contemporary, something more modern, outfitting them with, I don't know, like more modern weaponry and telling a gripping story of like military action? Would it be something you'd be interested in doing?
I mean, I don't see why not.
How are you at orangutans?
I have to take a look at orangutans. Monkeys are generally actually easier to draw because they kind of have human-esque shapes to them. But I have to take a look at the orangutans. The leader for the Grey Wolf Bandit is actually a southern pigtailed macaque monkey, which is a little different from the regular macaque monkeys that we see. Mm-hmm. So honestly, it's been my experience that whenever I have to draw a new type of animal, it's just a matter of figuring it out, and then you kind of I make my little, I guess, shortcuts, if you will, and kind of figure out a way to distill it into simple forms to make it work. Yeah, for some reasons now I'm just known for the person that draws squirrels and goblins because that's all I do. I've been getting the questions like, "Do you draw humans?" And I'm like, "I do. I really do."
You just haven't in a while.
I just haven't done it. You just don't see it in the open.
Once we finish 47, I'll get you a title where there's a lot of humans in it. Okay.
You keep saying that.
Well, let's get to this one first.
You're gonna have to do a AR-15 orangutan fan art. That's just the end of that. We're gonna have to see it. You're gonna have to do an ARO fan art. I'm making a note of that right there. There isn't like a art commission tier on the campaign, is there? No. I know there's an original art page, but
yeah, right. The closest thing to a commission reward tier has already been taken, which is the Sakura tier. You get a sketch on the actual Gemini mailer on the inside of it.
Oh, so that's neat. That's cool.
Yeah. It was
boo that it's already taken. Boo.
It was very successful the first time around. It was even more successful this time around, and I have to limit it at 10 because there's only so many hours in the day and so much energy that I have to do anything. Right. So,
That's fair. I get that.
So, yeah. How are, let's look at the campaign then. Let's look at that.
Mo says you can't force someone to draw arrow. Arrow must be in their heart, plotting his escape.
Just tear his way out of their chest with that machete and machine gun.
I just have one more comment. Scott says that he hates the monkeys because they play it all day at work and it's gross. But I feel like I would love if I got to listen.
You feel that way, but you know what? We'll do an experiment. I will lock you down here in the basement.
I mean, don't lock me down here because I'd like to
and I will pipe the monkeys in.
Or I could play it on my phone. I will challenge accepted, and you will rue the day because you're gonna have to give me something good. Because I'll be jamming out, singing because I grew up with the monkeys and I used to watch them all.
I guess. Are you a fan of Alvin and the Chipmunks?
I'm gonna do my favorite knock knock joke. Everybody go like this.
Oh, dude.
Go like this. Ready? Knock, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Yeah.
Yahoo.
Exactly. Yahoo. It's from the monkeys.
What the fuck was
it's that? It's a joke from the monkeys.
Yo, my wife's a dumbass.
No, it's from the monkeys.
I never watched the show. I just know the song.
Who's a bigger dumbass? You or like her,
me?
Or the person that married her?
My brain is the size of his headphones. Don't you know this?
I mean, it has been established.
Yeah, that has been, yes. It was a fact stated earlier. What did Mo say?
He said you might like the monkeys, but you have to keep in mind they don't have that many decent songs. It would get old quick. No, I am the queen of listening to one album on repeat.
Okay, give me a hug.
Oh my god, so cute.
Say hi, everybody.
Sunday. Hi. This Sunday is karaoke.
This is my youngest. She is one of the future owners of Sonopa. Aren't you, baby?
If I want to.
If you want to, yeah.
Hi, honey.
She says,
do you like the Chipmunks?
They asked if you like this the comic.
Little girl.
What comic?
Here. You want to hear?
What comic, guys?
Daddy's comic.
Oh, do you like the Chipmunks? You know, Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. Are they still
You like?
around?
I don't really have any of Daddy's comics. I have.
What are you talking about? They're like all boxes full of them behind you.
Well, I don't get them.
Yeah, there's too much blood in Daddy's comics for you.
Oh, I guess that's true, right? Yeah, I forget children don't like that stuff.
That's true.
Right.
Also, she's 7, Nev, so let's.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm only
See,
in second grade.
headphones the size of a brain the size of headphones.
You can go lay down and watch cartoons until Dad comes to read to you. Okay. All right, love you, baby.
Don't read her any Kurosawa.
Sorry, guys.
Let's look at the campaign page real quick.
I didn't write the joke. I just told it
I think he was just
from the
talking about
monkeys.
me, not you.
No, I think he's talking about the
This
Yahoo
is
joke.
the Yahoo joke is going to be stuck in my head now. So we're looking at 4. What did you just do? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 4K out of 7 and 10 days to go.
Yep.
How are we feeling about this? Do we have other appearances scheduled? Do you have like a big closing day stream set up? What's your plan?
We got. I've got 3 more appearances scheduled over the next 10 days, plus live streams that I do pretty much every night between different folks who have me on with Max DeVille, Larry, appearances on the Comic Related Madness, things like that. And then we've got book reviews coming up probably next week from the weekly polls.
Can I pause you for 1 second and stop scrolling, please? And thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to highlight this specific reward called the Artist Edition. We're going to be putting out black and white pages of issue 1, 2, and 3 into one volume, unlettered, basically just depicting them the way that I originally draw them before I color them in Photoshop. So it's very akin to your artist editions that you get with IDW, and Image does it too. They're not going to be oversized, unfortunately. Our printer does not offer 11x17 formats, so it's going to be the same size as the 6x9 regular books. But again, it's going to be all in black and white to just show you exactly how much work I put into that.
Right. And between the page counts for the interiors and the original cover illustrations, and then the character concept illustrations that are done in that, it's actually 92 pages.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty hefty. And that's available in tier there. It's also available as an add-on. It's $20. And that's
a really great deal.
Yeah, it is.
92
That's-
pages.
For $20.
That's the interesting dichotomy about crowdfunding is when you price and try and put it to like a shelf price, it cuts your margin down so that your goal ends up being higher.
Yeah.
You have to sell more to make that margin up. But I mean, I like putting books in people's hands for a price that doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
I get that.
we all want to try
We
and make things as
appreciate
affordable as possible. 20 bucks for 60 pages plus bonus content. I thought we were doing pretty good job. But yeah, that's a thing in crowdfunding, and you've got no lack of experience in crowdfunding. What are some of the more difficult challenges that you faced putting out all of these campaigns, and how did you overcome them?
The hardest thing that ever happened was with Death Comes to Glenfollow.
The campaign that shall not be named.
The campaign that was just cursed from the beginning. Literally, there was a point in time where we considered putting in a page in the book. This is warning: use at your own risk. This book is clearly cursed. Because in the final week of the campaign, we've been funded for a while. Everything's going well. The book is done. The last of the art is coming in. We had literally had just one page left. The campaign's about to end. And I was working on the cover and saved the cover and accidentally saved it over the master file for the book.
Oh no.
And with my cloud storage synced, it overwrote every file I had for it. So I literally had to come back and rewrite the entire book. And while doing that, I had a friend of mine who committed suicide. I had a couple of friends that died suddenly from COVID related stuff. And then a few other people died from COVID related stuff. And then other people died from other stuff. My neighbor down the street committed suicide.
It's got hamsters, chipmunks, squirrels. This is bringing me down.
just all this stuff happened. And so that overcoming that was the hardest thing. And so that was writing and writing and rewriting and rewriting. And finally, I had a lot of people who I've gotten to know in crowdfunding, like, dude, the book is fine. Just finish the format and print it. That was the hardest one. And then the other things are like when I was printing through a particular source when I first started, and they would consistently screw up the books on the print on demand. So, for example, the second book, no, Mixam's. I've never had any problems with Mixam. Mixam's been doing these, but the source that I had prior to that, the second book I put out, I got my shipment in, and I had books that had my cover and someone else's interior. I don't know how you do that.
That's crazy.
But I literally had a box.
One job.
They put my cover on someone else's book. I don't know how you do that, and then shipped it to me.
Oh my
I'm like,
goodness.
that's not my book.
The outside is, but that's about it.
Yeah, it was problematic. And then I had to send that back to them, and then half the ones I got back were actually had my stuff in it, yes, but it was upside down, which I don't know how you do that with the rest of them right side up. I don't get it. It was a mess. And that's why I went looking really hard for printers who knew what they were doing. And that's how I ended up with Mixam. They got one shot to impress me with the first edition of 47, and they did a fine job. And so we did the books whenever we go to press runs. If we're not just doing it like a print on demand thing for the backers, they get printed through Mixam.
It's a good question. Why? I don't want to call it mini size, but why smaller than usual?
Okay, there's a couple of reasons for that, actually. One, we knew that we were going to put together a whole digest of this once the whole 12 issues are done. And then with that, we wanted to put it in like probably a hardbound version. The economics of getting that to a reasonable price point were a lot better at 6x9 than they were at trying to get like a hardbound at comic size. The other thing too is that it kind of harkens back pretty close to your traditional manga size. And so we wanted something that kind of was a throwback to that as well. And just between the two, that's where I landed on it. And honestly, it's been something that people ask about, but I've never really had any complaints about it.
People actually really like it. Like I've had I was on a podcast back home last week, and I told them the same thing, and they're like, oh, it's a 6x9, and they're like, oh my god, I love it because it stands out that way, and it really does stand out. Because
that's what I was gonna say. Like I don't dislike it. I actually am interested in it. It's a nice size for a hand-read book, especially with like the texturing on the cover. Frog will tell you, it's one of the things that we were commenting about when we were looking at reviewing this thing, is that we actually liked the smaller sized format, and that was surprising to me.
We get a lot of comments about the paper choices that we use for it too.
Just as a side note, though, the original pages are the actual physical original pages are 11x16, and we are offering those
aspect ratio
as a reward. Yeah.
That's the.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's the cover.
This
ratio too.
Here up there.
There we go. Yeah. So
there we go.
there are going to be 5 pages of issue 3 available to anyone who wants to back us at that level, and then there's the 1 page of issue 2 still available. That's from Sam's collection. That we are offering as well. But again, these are 11x16 Archer watercolor paper, 300 gram cold press paper. So it's high quality stuff.
They're black and white inks, right?
I know it's not very boring for you, Neff, but
yeah.
No, it's been a long day.
Don't worry, it's
I'm
okay. I'm
stupid and tired.
I'm fading too. I'm still fighting the jet lag, so.
Yeah, we just haven't been sleeping well. Like, it's been a fight.
We've been fighting.
Not.
All right. So,
a fight to sleep.
So Alexia, what has been the most difficult part of creating comic books for you, and what have you done or what have you learned in the process?
That I have a terrible concept of time, and that whenever I think something is going to take me X, it actually takes me Y to get it done.
What are these dead lines you speak of?
Deadline. My lines are very.
They're very alive.
They're alive.
I like
don't
my
know.
lines.
Why are you trying to kill them?
Deadlines are important because
They're
we have
very-
a whole
they're very
release
important.
schedule.
They're very, very important, but they are. They've been a challenge to me personally, because again, I just have a bad concept of time and how long things tend to take me. But I have gotten better at that. The other thing that has been challenging to me personally has been whenever I have to do group scenes, scenes with a whole bunch of different characters, I tend to forget a certain quantity of characters that at the very last minute I'm like, oh crap, there's another monkey that needs to be like in the left corner, and then I have to draw him like at the last minute. So having that concept of the spatial concept within a 2D scene, if you will, especially when we're doing fight scenes, was a challenge for issue 1. I definitely have become more aware of that. And just the overall flow of an action scene. It's like if one person slices like this, they stand like a certain way, and then the person that has been attacked is lying down in a certain way.
So the anatomy of a fight scene. Yeah.
The anatomy of fight scene. You have to be very aware of where everybody is within that space.
Yeah.
So that's tricky. So I can't even imagine somebody like Pepe Larraz that does these X-Men team books all the time, and he has to like keep track of where everybody is. And I'm just like, I don't know how you do it, man. That's crazy.
Neff, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, bro. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. So
They look really
do you
good
have
on the wall too.
yeah, well, do you have any advice for fledgling comic creators trying to get into comic books and crowdfunding?
Yes. Yes.
What's the
Lots.
advice?
So
yeah, that was
first
the
off-
question, right? It's a yes or no question.
First
God
off,
damn it.
crowdfunding. Ladies and gentlemen, when you go to start crowdfunding, the very first thing that you want to do is set up a brand new email address. And the
She's
reason
laughing.
you want to do that is because you will get spammed by marketing bots. You'll get spammed by people who are trying to scam you. I've actually even had prostitutes reach out to me on Kickstarter before. I mean, it is crazy what you'll see come to you. So have an entirely separate email that you only use for your crowdfunding.
That's smart. Yeah, we should have done that.
Yeah.
We didn't do that.
No.
If
No,
you
we're not
are,
smart.
if you are not an artist yourself, I recommend the model where you focus on your goals being to cover your production costs, your art costs, and worry about making your money off your subsequent sales. Because in all honesty, the money is in the books. You know, the money is in the books once they're created. So like we went to Garden State Comic Festival, myself, Alexia, we were there with Adelia Gunderson, and we sold almost, 185 copies of, or 187. It was 185 or 187
187.
of 187 of 47 Furious Sales issue 1 and 2 at a con that wasn't very large, which is a hell of a thing to do. I mean, almost $1,000 in just that, plus the art print sales and everything else.
If I can add to that, as an artist, when you are at a convention or you are at a local comic shop signing, having an actual physical product to put into people's hands it helps tremendously in just, getting your rep, basically getting yourself out there. Because by having an actual physically finished product, you just basically show that you got the chops to do whatever it is you're pretending to be or pretending to do. So it definitely helps. To me, I would dare say at this point in my career, right now, it's actually more profitable for me to actually sell my books than to take on commissions at the show. Because commissions, they take a lot of energy and time to create, and you get like a little bit of money for it. When it's great, but I could have sold 5 books in the time that it took me, to make one commission. So that's something to consider as an artist.
That's a really good point.
Mo, I gotta say, in that situation, you usually pay your artists an exposure, and I approve of this method. In that case, you pay the prostitutes and they give you exposure, right? That's like, or they expose them. So there's a joke there.
In your head, maybe.
There's a joke there.
You need to dig a little bit to find it, but there's probably one there somewhere.
Keep going.
Don't worry, I'm fully versed in how to dig a hole.
The other thing
All
I
right.
recommend for writers getting into comics, folks like me who can't draw, I recommend paying your artists the best possible rate you can.
Because
And the
that way they'll
reason,
keep coming back.
right? I mean, Alexia hasn't worked with me for 4 years for nothing.
Yeah, he's okay.
It's been almost 4 years. So
Does he touch your thigh though?
Do you really want to comment on that?
That's just
He
a
doesn't
you and
encourage you
Garrett
by
thing.
stroking your thigh under the table? No,
That's
okay.
just a you and Garrett
Yeah,
thing. We need
yeah.
to have a talk about what happens in other
This
arts.
is why we're in a fight.
we get that question a lot too, surprisingly enough.
We do.
We do. Although I thought Billy and his wife were going to abduct you from Garden State and
No, they were going to
adopt
adopt
you.
me. They were going to adopt me.
Adopt
Even
you,
though I'm like
abduct
adult.
you. It's the same.
It's very close. The
Yeah.
spelling. Yeah.
But yeah, I
Just
mean,
the
take good care of your artists, and be as transparent as you can and be responsible.
Yeah.
So like I get some flack from people because people think what's a good way to put this?
Overpay me.
Overpay people in general. And it's not just the cash, it's the comps too, because we work that out into the contracts. Because when you take and you hand someone, you say, hey, here's your comps, and you hand them 5 copies, that's not even enough to spread around the family, much less make any money off of.
Yeah.
But when you drop 50 or 100 copies on someone, and all of a sudden, like, hey, it's a $5 book or a $20 book or whatever, that's a huge difference. And not just the books, but like the art prints and stuff like that. So you would be surprised at the merchandise the artists have been receiving on these projects to then sell at their own individual appearance.
Have you ever thought about that, using exposure as a currency? It keeps things pure. It's inflation proof. If artists worked for exposure, we wouldn't have to worry about comps and prints and all that others. It'd just be exposure.
Well, here's the mistake I made at first. My first couple of books were actually done on a built-in royalty basis, where they owned a portion of the title, and it became very clear after the second book that it was going to take forever for those artists to see a net effect to where it would be comparable to if they'd just been paid a flat rate. Yeah. So starting with the third book, as far as the smaller books goes, it was all cash deal kind of thing. With the exception, I was a co-creator with Zach Viola on The Steel Road, which was of course very art intensive. But again, that book is sold pretty well. I mean, we got an ENnie nomination for that book, so
wow.
That wasn't too bad. We didn't make it to the final voting, but we did get nominated, and that was a hell of a thing to see.
By the way, that's
awesome.
A weapons book.
Right, weapons.
No, the 50 magical weapons. You got an Emmy for that?
We got an ENnie nomination.
Oh, okay. I heard Emmy. I was like, when did
that
books?
No. We got an
How do I get my comic book to the Emmys?
Yeah, no,
I will mine his brain. We will find
we got
out.
an ENnie nomination, which is pretty cool for gaming and stuff. We did not make the final voting cut though, which was unfortunate. But
Noah's got the hashtag right? Be better.
I love
Be better. All right, guys. We have your
sure.
social media information and information about the Kickstarter.
I don't have Alexia's because I didn't have it.
Well, we're gonna get that from Alexia after the show,
and
I
will
update it in the
yes,
description.
I will edit and throw that in there.
Is there anything else you want to tell our audience before we call it here tonight?
Yeah, back 47 Furious Tales issue 3 on Kickstarter.
That's a good message.
Yes.
That's something that I can get behind.
And you can
Do
get
it.
caught up with print copies, issues 1, 2, and 3, signed by Alexia and me for $25. That includes shipping in the United States.
Bruh, these are worth it. I'm telling you. Like, I got all the variant covers too, but just issues 1 and 2 by themselves, you're gonna need those. It's a whole story arc. You don't want to not have issues 1 and 2.
And the variant covers are available as add-ons. And I got asked this question a lot. People are like, did you mean to price the variants at $5 each? I'm like, yes, because that's what
they're worth. Yeah.
That's what we sell them for. So Get your books while they last, guys.
I did have one more
other thing
question.
too, for
forgot.
collectors, this is important. We do not reprint covers on floppies. So once a particular cover sells out, I commission a new cover and we get a new cover. So issue 2, each of those 3 covers only had 1,500 copies printed.
FYI.
So, yeah.
So once they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
Right.
The boxes
Last
of
question.
things behind you. Yeah. Will this crowdfunder for issue number 3 be going to Indiegogo?
We're going to bring this to Indiegogo probably in February. I was going to bring it a little later on that, but with trying to get Sonopa Omnibus Volume 3 to launch on the Sonopa account in November, just don't have the time to try and balance 2 campaigns. So my
you could just kind of migrate the Kickstarter over and go in demand on Indiegogo, and that way.
Yeah, but there's an interesting opportunity here, though. In January, we're going to do the Kickstarter for Reign of Ages, which is the new fantasy series we're launching. That's actually going to be done by the end of December. We're going to be fulfilling in February. So we're actually going to get that campaign run. I'll order the copies. They'll be in about the same time we get the money from the Kickstarter campaign. And then what we'll do is we will take and ship those out. And then we'll bring 47 Fury Sales issue 1 and 3, as well as my allotment of Reign of Ages to Indiegogo so that people can do it. And we'll do the same thing we did with the 1 and 2 47 campaign. It'll be a flexible goal. As people pledge, we'll ship out the next business day.
Cool.
And that was actually really helpful because we had a lot of people who were like, hey, what are you doing? I'm on a stream and I'm fulfilling this pledge we just got in from this guy on this. The cool thing about Indiegogo is that once you've got that, you can go ahead and lock it as shipped when it's on flexible. And so you'll get your money next month, and being able to box them up and ship them out, people really dug that. So I like keeping that tradition. I think it's a good way to go. And
so the short answer is yes.
Future. Yes. Short answer is yes.
You just have to wait till February.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Then I think that's going to be it for us tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications.
And tune into the frequency.
We'll see you next time.